A guy with a full-time job just won a Melee Major with Peach. In an almost 25-year-old game that people thought was more or less solved, it sounds impossible, right? Because this guy isn't just some dude with a full-time job, he's a literal surgeon who plays this game in whatever hours he has left over. And in fact, he doesn't even really play. He's barely touched Super Smash Bros. Melee since last December. I shouldn't even have to say this, but this is not normal. The players at the top of Melee right now are professionals in their own right. They have practice regimens, coaches, and an ungodly, disturbing amount of hours in Slippy. Not to mention, Peach was a character that a lot of people consider to be sort of a relic of the past. A solid top tier, that's for sure, but definitely not a character that had been that highly represented over the years. But in 2026, a quarter century after Melee's release, a not-so-new major champion was crowned. This is lloD, a player who has been around Melee since quite literally the Stone Ages of the game. He got his first taste of competitive Melee all the way back in 2005 at a tournament called Bomb 4 when he was 10 years old. At Get On My Level 2026, lloD found himself sitting in Grand Finals for the first time in his over 20-year-long career, looking at the opportunity to become the 23rd player in Super Smash Bros. Melee history to win a major tournament. But it gets even weirder, because sitting across from him was a Luigi player who had also never won a major, with a character who had never even seen the podium before. And when lloD was first competing at Bomb 4 in 2005, Rap Monster wasn't even alive yet. This is the story of a truly generational Grand Finals. This is the story of Get On My Level 2026. Thank you to ZocDoc, who has paid to partner with me in today's video. I've been partnered with ZocDoc since like the beginning of this year, so anyone who's been listening to my integrations has probably already heard the spiel about how almost every person I know who lives in New York City uses ZocDoc to find their doctors. ZocDoc is a free site where you can search for doctors by specialty, filter by your insurance, and see thousands of verified patient reviews. Like lloD, he's a doctor, right? ZocDoc has over 200 specialties in all 50 states, and it's pretty convenient to see everything available within the confines of the wonderful American healthcare system all in one place. I actually used ZocDoc completely unprompted to find my primary care provider a few years back, and this was way before I started getting sponsorships on this channel, so I would say this is about as real of a use case as someone can get. I basically just used their search engine to find a nearby location that took my insurance, and my annual physical was perfect because I can bench press 350 no problem. Anyway, as much of a disclaimer as I can make when it comes to this stuff, please use your own discretion when it comes to health. Reading reviews and making positive steps for your health is great, but this site is by no means a replacement for healthcare. If you're interested though, you can go to ZocDoc.com/turndownforALT or click the link in the description to find and book a top-rated in-network doctor today. Thanks again to ZocDoc for supporting the channel, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. Okay, so allow me to set the stage for you. If you told someone in the 2010s that grand finals of a major level tournament would consist of a Peach not named Armada and a Luigi player who literally wasn't alive when the game came out, they would probably have called you a crazy person, and that's probably an understatement. But this is the world we're living in now. In a game that is approaching its 25th birthday, almost anything is possible. But why, though? Why are these characters making such a big splash, and why now? It's not like Peach hadn't been around during the 2010s. Like I said before, Armada, a player in contention for the title of greatest of all time, was first a Peach main and won plenty of tournaments using only that character. Peach is definitely still considered a top tier, maybe the bottom of top tiers, but still a top tier, but she was perhaps a bit of a dying breed. At the end of year ranking in 2025, only 6 players out of the top 100 used the character. Luigi, on the other hand, had about half of the representation of Peach in 2025, and it certainly wasn't as concentrated at the top. There was really only one player doing it with Luigi at the highest level, and he was younger than the game. Also, if you watch my channel, you already know who I'm talking about, and I said it like 5 times already, it's Rap Monster. But Rap Monster was a player who seemingly came out of nowhere. He placed just inside the top 30 on his debut annual ranking, and the week after Gommel, the summer 2026 rank dropped, and he was top 10, the highest ranking a Luigi player has ever received. And for the record, that list didn't even count Gommel yet. Everything culminated at Get On My Level 2026 though, Canada's premier tournament series and one of the longest running events in the game. With 512 entrants, it was a bit smaller than the Gommels of the past, but the important thing of note here was that the series seemed to belong to someone at this point. The first seed of the tournament, and a player who I said would more or less have had a free pass to grand finals, Zane. Zane had won the last 3 Gommels dating back to 2023 and was seeking that ever-elusive Series 4-peat. Between him and the event's second seed, Hungrybox, it was pretty hard to imagine a world where either of them weren't facing off for the upteenth time in Grands for another trophy in their collections. But neither of them made it to Grands. Hell, neither of them even made it to Winners Finals like I thought they would. And that's the last time I'm going to mention Zane or Hungrybox for a little while, and there are maybe like 2 or 3 other videos buried in this tournament that I'm not making today. MKLeo and Ultimate made a huge return to form. Cola, another prominent Smash Ultimate player, ended up at 9th in the Melee bracket. The story of the French sisters from an area basically devoid of offline Melee traveling from across the sea to win their first ever doubles bracket. All of these things are incredible tales in their own right that deserve their own videos, so if you like my content and you want to see more of it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Okay, I did it. I did the CTA, I did the shill, but actually, you know, it's pretty tough for me to get these recaps out quickly because I usually want to like write and edit them myself, and as you guys might have noticed, I've been posting like a lot lately. So if you want to support the channel and help me keep making these, it is completely free to subscribe. You can always take it back if you don't think my channel has given you the worth or value that you think you want from it, but just know I appreciate you considering it in the first place. All right, chill's over. Anyway, the story of this weekend was centered around 2 heroes, a Peach player with a medical degree and a Luigi player who can't legally rent a car. So let's talk about how long lloD has actually been doing this. The first major tournament on record for lloD was Pound 3 in 2008, but like I said earlier, his first actual tournament was a few years prior at an event called Bomb 4 in 2005. This was considered a super regional according to the wiki, but it is literally so old that almost every piece of information presented on the wiki has a question mark next to it, which I think is just super rad and funny. Venue, I don't know, prize pool, 1,000 maybe? Actually, you know, a rack for a tournament in 2005 is kind of insane, by the way, but either way, lloD is also literally not even listed on both the results page and the Smashboards thread, which is how older tournaments used to share results back in the day, because back then, Smashboards threads would often report the team names instead of the individual players' tags. So if you really did want to know how lloD did there, you should probably just ask him yourself, because I actually don't know the answer. But since Bomb 4, it has been 21 years of lloD playing, and of those 2 decades, he has been a ranked and respected top-level Peach for a good chunk of it. He's had a lot of really good runs over those years, and has even made a top 4 at SmashCon back in 2019, but the big thing that escaped him and many other top-level players was a major win. And it seriously wasn't just him. A ton of players have had their shot, but holding the trophy to a major tournament is actually one of the rarest achievements in Melee history, one only accomplished by 22 people up until that point. The last time a new player had won a major was at the end of 2024 when Moki did so in a very historic top 4 at Dome Park on the grass. And then there's the other guy. Walt put the Luigi in the bag. Walt, rents due. Walt, I'm sure you're super thrilled about the freaking Luigi. Walt is in shambles when the plumbers aren't winning. But, you know, I've spent most of this year making videos about the tier list being more a suggestion than a representation of reality. I did a whole video about ice climbers reaching grand finals for the first time in a decade. I did 2 whole videos about a then 19-year-old Luigi player, and several of you have informed me that a 3rd would have been excessive, but I did it anyway, and then I did a 4th. and then I probably did a 5th or 6th or 7th. But now you guys just timestamp whenever Luigi first appears in my videos, and this has just become like the Wolf Glick Incineroar of this channel. And you know what? I actually really love it, and I think it's hilarious, and I'm gonna keep making Luigi videos. But quick refresher, in case you somehow missed any of those videos, Rap Monster is a Luigi player from Virginia who came mostly from Project Plus, barely competed offline, and then started pushing this character further than anybody ever has. He got 13th at Supernova 2025, the largest Melee bracket ever. He beat Zane in Thug Finals at an online cash box, then again in an offline Thug Finals at Bare Necessities, and then a third time for real in an actual bracket at Genesis X3. Then in May at Pat's House 5, Rap Monster became the first Luigi player in the 25-year history of competitive Melee to reach grand finals of a major tournament with this character. Zane came back and beat him, and I said, quoting myself, which is insufferable, I'm aware, that this was probably the start of something. And just like that, 3 months later, he made it to grand finals again. Neither player's bracket at GOML was easy by any stretch of the imagination. On one side, we had lloD, a literal surgeon playing a character that only 5 other people in the top 100 were still using, doing it while having barely touched the game since December. That time gap is also worth sitting on for a second too, because I think it's pretty unique. Nearly every other breakout story I have covered on this channel had the one thing lloD simply did not have, which is time. Just this year, Slug had time when he came back and made grand finals at Out of the Blue. Wizrobe had time to rebuild himself into the greatest Falcon who has ever touched this game. And hell, even Rap Monster, he's like 20, he has nothing but time. lloD straight up did not have that luxury. He is in a medical profession that demands extremely taxing hours, so the fact that he was able to put this run together is nothing short of remarkable. But on that other side, we had that fresh out of high school Rap Monster, who literally was not alive when lloD entered his first bracket, clinging onto one of the worst historical resumes in terms of viable characters in Melee, and treading ground where no other Luigi has ever before. But, you know, somehow, like a moth to a flame, I find myself talking about this guy again. For lloD, his first real roadblock came versus Hungrybox, a player who had historically given him a ton of trouble in the past. I made a video about 6 years ago now that detailed how lloD was able to overcome such a difficult player and matchup, but you know, that one was 6 years ago, and it was actually an online set. lloD had actually never beaten Hungrybox in an offline event, and it looked like the same was about to ring true here after HBox went up 2-0 in the set. In Game 3, lloD fell behind early and struggled to even the stock count, even with a clutch stitch pull on stock 3, but he pulled through. In Game 4, lloD fell behind again, but refused to fall over. He got HBox to last stock at just over 100%, which was surely the dagger, but he pulled through. Another stitch appeared and gave lloD the opening he needed. Somehow, just like that, a reverse 3-0 was on the horizon in quite possibly the greatest floaty versus floaty matchup Melee had ever seen, and this time, lloD took an early lead. HBox answered back quickly and forced lloD on his final stock, almost making his efforts for nothing. And then...
Coming alive for Hungrybox, chance from the crowd. And a lot of counter chance. Neck and neck. Game 5, last stock.
Why does this keep happening at GOML?
Gone the distance.
Oh, misses the down smash.
And the crowd still cheering for both parties.
I'm hearing lloD. I'm hearing lloD from the chat, from the crowd here.
All right. What do we get? What do we get? Back air.
Oh,
and a grab off
crosses up
stage.
with the jab. Oh, we're gonna get a huge pop off. HBox wins. I don't think I've ever seen lloD pop off. Maybe we get it today.
We might see it here, Michael, but we're gonna have to win this last stock first. Back off stage. What does HBox do? Gets the trade. Does he get back to stage?
Oh,
Gets fair.
comes back with the fair. That was so risky.
Hey, but you gotta those confident plays.
Do it. No way. The DI.
And the bad DI from Hungrybox makes lloD seal the deal.
Oh
Game
my
5.
God.
Clutching it back from the depths, man. Was that a...
What a set.
The crowd on their feet. I can't believe it.
And he's soy-jacking on stage.
lloD can't believe it, because what a recovery. What a marathon. The reverse 3-0.
Impeached, huh?
I genuinely cannot fathom how one can have the composure to play a set this long and this tense and complete a reverse 3-0 against one of the most clutch players in Melee history. But for lloD's first ever offline win against Hungrybox, he did it, and he was in top 8. His reward on Championship Sunday was to face off against Moki, another difficult matchup where he won 3-1. And suddenly, lloD was guaranteed a podium placement, one of his best performances in years. And then we had Rap Monster, who had a nail-biting Game 5 set against a surging Nun with home field advantage, then another set that went the distance versus Sunsei to make it to lloD. For the first time in Melee history, it was a Peach versus Luigi in winners finals of a major tournament, which is absolute insanity. lloD took this set 3-1 to punch his ticket into Grands, just one set away from a major title, one set away from following in Armada's footsteps. and with a full bracket reset in his back pocket. Rat Monster's road back was either easier or harder depending on who you asked. Coming back from the loser's bracket and securing his spot on the podium was Zayn, who alongside HBox had made it into top 4 but not where most people expected, having to face off against his newfound young rival. A convincing 3-1 victory put Rat M back on top after falling to the #1 player of 2025 at Pat's house, and history was going to be made no matter which way you cut it. Either lloD or Rat Monster winning would have been the story of the year. But we got both. According to friend of the channel Practical Task and data compiled by Kaio Nintendo, a grand finals where both players had never won a major tournament before had only happened 6 total times in Melee's entire competitive history. Before this, it was most recently at Don't Park, where Moki and Aklo faced off to become the 22nd major winner. Then, working backwards, it was Revival of Melee 2 in 2009 between Hungrybox and PPMD, Cataclysm 3 in 2007 between Mewtwo King and Korean DJ, Japan United Smash Festa in 2003 between Captain Jack and Masashi, and Tournament Go 4, one of the first tournaments considered a major, in 2003 between Ken and Reciferous. That is an absolutely baffling statement to make, and one that reminds me why I love this game and its history so damn much. But as both lloD and Rat Monster sat down at GOML, I'm sure both were pretty aware of the gravity of this situation. A 23rd major winner was going to be crowned regardless of who won, and a true generational gap separated these two players. On one side, you had a player who created an improvement guide almost a decade ago, competing in this game since the early 2000s and now balancing that with one of the most demanding jobs in modern society. And on the other, a kid probably about to go to college who wasn't even alive when lloD first picked up the sticks. This matchup is not easy for Luigi, and conventional wisdom says that Peach wins it, but Rat Monster had other plans in the first set of grands.
You know, one bad position and Peach can just edge guard you and
And reset. There we go.
Rat Monster, one set away.
One set away.
The Luigi took the first set of a major grand finals off the winner side player and forced a bracket reset, which means that now it was all for keeps. Whoever could win 3 games first would become Melee's 23rd major winner and etch their name in the history books forever. Also worth mentioning that by lloD's own recollection, this was the first set that a Luigi had taken over him in like 14 years, I think he said, which is just completely insane. But before set 2 began, reinforcements arrived for both players. For lloD, it was his brother Rishi, an ever-analytical mind of the game, providing crucial insight and a calming presence in this do-or-die situation. For Rat Monster, a fellow Mario Brother player named Sebis, a Dr. Mario main who would win his first doubles bracket with Rat Monster just a week later at Supernova, was hyping his friend up for one final ride. The final set begins, and it looks like Rat Monster has maintained his momentum. Game 1 to the Luigi. Then, a big stage and even bigger patience affords lloD a clutch power shield he needs to tie the set 1-1. On the tiebreaker game, the gods of Melee tried to force their hand for Rat Monster. On Ratbem's final stock, he hits a 1 out of 8 misfire, then gets phantom hit by lloD's turnip throw, which surely ends the game, and then hits another 1 out of 8 misfire. But lloD holds steady, and it's 2-1. Game 4, another last stock last hit scenario, with Rat Monster finding the opening. 2-2, and it all comes down to this. A second set where every single game went down to the wire, and Game 5 was no different. Welcome to a moment in history.
Oh, okay.
Here we go.
Okay.
This is
okay.
it. This is it. We got last
This is
stock,
for all the
baby.
marbles, baby.
We got last stock.
We
We got last stock.
We
Stand up for this. We got last
Okay.
stock, baby.
Okay.
This is it.
Okay. lloD got a huge percent lead, though.
Hasn't gotten
Huge
hit.
percent lead.
Hasn't gotten hit.
Okay, wait.
Shield.
Chop. Okay. Again.
Again?
Again.
Off
Up there.
stage.
Oh.
My
Gonna
God.
get back though.
Okay.
Dude, that's big. That's big percent.
45. 116.
Dude, any bad straight hit, and this is
Yeah. Oh
it.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
over.
It's even up air here. Up air not hitting on the top platform.
Oh.
it's the
let that
roll.
roll.
No, he's still living though.
Yo, he still got the tornado. And
Oh, the turnip finally hits.
Oh my.
Is he too low?
Yo, he's
making it back.
crazy.
He's in there.
Oh.
lloD winning his first ever
Let's
Super
go,
Major.
lloD. Let's go, lloD.
The doctor is in the building. The doctor will see you now.
Right?
Let's go.
Hey.
lloD,
Let's go,
what an
lloD.
impressive performance for lloD. Making it all the way.
Woo.
Yeah,
He held it together.
take it all the way to the end by Rat
Yeah,
Monster.
Rat Monster, yeah. Rat Monster threw the whole kitchen sink out. Let's go, lloD.
What an impressive performance.
That was a good grand.
In almost 25 years of competitive Super Smash Bros. Melee, across every Apex, every Genesis, every Pound, Big House, Evo, thousands of players and hundreds of brackets that have qualified as majors, only 23 people have ever won one. That is the list lloD is on now, and the guy sitting across from him in Grand Finals was trying to get on it too, with a character that had never even come close before. The door got kicked in from two directions at once, and it didn't buckle, it freaking exploded. In one corner, the Surgeon Peach, a literal doctor over 20 years into his Melee career, who hadn't played the game since December, using a character nobody had won one with since the days of Armada. Someone who didn't have time. And in the other corner, the Wunderkind Luigi, the new generation of Melee who wasn't even born when his opponent played his first tournament, forging the path for Luigi players worldwide who had nothing but time. I say some version of this in a bunch of my videos, so I'll say it again. I don't love watching this game because I know what's gonna happen. I love watching it because I couldn't have possibly predicted this. No one could have. The story of GOML 2026 centered around two very unlikely characters, but it was built upon a foundation of incredible history in Canada. And in case it wasn't weird enough, this tournament wasn't even supposed to happen. I spoke with Toronto Joe and Max Ketchum, the two main tournament organizers for the GOML series, and was told that last year was supposed to be the final GOML. Aptly named GOML Forever, it was meant to be a reminder that Smash and the memories it gave to us last forever, despite a beloved series coming to a close. But call it a stroke of luck or brilliance or both, the city of Mississauga reached out to move the event there. To make matters somehow worse, the event faced a citywide power outage which set all of their brackets back tremendously. The venue was sweltering while being ran off of a backup generator that only had enough juice to supply power to certain areas of the venue. To keep visibility going, the event was being streamed by over 10 different IRL streamers, and because of that big time loss the team was potentially facing down due to the grid, they had to run the top 8s for Melee and Ultimate at the same time, which is something that GOML, or nearly any tournament for that matter, never would have imagined doing under normal circumstances. Fortunately, both top 8s were absolute bangers, and it was a happy little accident to show that both games are cool and both games can coexist. And speaking of Ultimate, over 50 Nintendo Switches were literally held at the border the day before the tournament began, resulting in Max and Joe having to scramble overnight to replace them. These were unironically Apex 2015 levels of event catastrophe, and yet, Melee persists. Max called it, quote, easily the most challenging event they've ever run, and conquering all the obstacles made it really special, and that the amount of history made at this event made all of the difficulties feel worth it. In 2023, I made a music video for lloD in my apartment, and the very first line of the track was, "I've never won a tourney in the flesh." As his friend, I'm very proud to say that is no longer true. Melee is a beautiful accident, and apparently, so was GOML 2026. Thanks for watching. Hey, it's turndownforALT, your favorite host of turndownforALT. I'm the only host. But anyway, if you want to watch awesome Smash videos and exclusive Walt clips, just make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. Okay, that's it. Bye-bye. Big thanks to my top-tier patrons and YouTube members. You can check those links out if you feel like supporting the channel and you, more importantly, have the disposable income to do so. Thank you to Avishua Stein, Bobby Wasabi, Brent Mukai, Carter Roberts, Kaiden, Dark Genix, Eric is Cool, Gustavo Cantu Fernandez, James Fabman, Justin Duncan Mills, Kyle Carlin, Marshall Bradley, Michael Talamo, Prakar Sinha, Rosewood, and Sam Wright.